in a way, I sort of grew up with the intelligence business in the background of life. My father, when he was a graduate student, had a professor who was his advisor on his master's program, who was a friend of Bill Donovan's, the guy that founded the OSS. And in 1936, my father went to Germany and rode 1,200 miles on a bicycle, observing German remilitarization and passing the information on. And then later in my late teens and early 20s, I lived at the Balboa Bay Club in Newport Beach, which was a hotbed. Robert Mayhew, who was Howard Hughes's fixer, former FBI, possibly agency, nobody knows for sure. He lived directly upstairs from us. Barry Goldwater and his entire family lived there. Murray Chotiner, who was Nixon's first campaign manager, lived there. And all I ever wanted to do was be in the intelligence business. So when I went to join the Army, I put down that I wanted my MOS to be area intelligence specialist. And I had to get a pre-clearance. So I had to get letters, a letter from a teacher, a letter from a personal friend, a letter from an employer, and go through all this pre-clearance stuff. It took 5 months from the time that I originally tried to join until I had all the paperwork together. Went down to what they called the AFES station in those days. Armed Forces Entrance and Examination Station. Did all the testing, took the physical, was ready to enlist, took the oath, and then saw this E7 at the desk who said, "Oh, I see you've enlisting to be an intelligence specialist." And I said, "Yeah." You go, "Unfortunately, it's the 29th of the month." That was September 29th, 1966. "All our intelligence slots are full for this month." Yeah. I said, "Well, what does that mean? Does I have to go back?" And, "Oh, no, it's not really a big problem because you're going to go to Fort Ord for basic training. And when you get up there, it's going to be the 1st of October, and they'll have a whole new open slate of slots. And you just tell them, So he said, "I'm just going to put you down to be a supply clerk, but it doesn't mean anything. Don't worry about it."
Okay.
So I got to Fort Ord, California, and they throw you off the bus and shout at you and make you stand on little painted footprints and all that stuff. And then file into this room, take a seat. This lieutenant comes into the podium and says, very first thing, "I don't care what those assholes down at AFES told you. Whatever MOS is on your paperwork, that's where you're going. It cannot be changed. Don't come bothering me that you want to change it." Oh. And off I went to Fort Lee, Virginia to learn to be a supply clerk. And after I got done with that, they sent me back to Fort Ord to Combat Developments Command. And it was a stupid job. I hated it. I was working in a motor pool, going back and forth between Fort Ord and Hunter Liggett. And one day, a friend of mine who had been in the exact same situation, he wanted to be a helicopter crew chief, and he also got sent to be a supply clerk. And we were both there, and he said, "I'm going to go apply to be a pilot. Why don't you come with me?" I said, "Because I have substandard vision and I can't be a pilot. I know that. There's no point in me even trying." He goes, "Oh, come on." His real motive was because I had a car and it was all the way on the other side of the base. And he wanted me to drive him. So I drove him over there. And I went in. The very first thing they did was give me an eye examination and kick me out. But he went through the rest of the process and eventually did a tour in Vietnam flying Hueys. So I didn't have anything to do while I'm waiting for him. So I'm wandering through the building and I come to this really cool looking office. And there's a lot of stuff on the walls, real interesting Montagnard crossbows and booby traps from Vietnam and pictures of different things. And there was nobody there. So I'm just wandering around looking at stuff. And all of a sudden, Sergeant Jack Davis comes in straight back from his 5th tour. This is in like February of 1967. And he had already been to Vietnam 5 times. He's like, oh, young PFC, because I was out E3 at the time. You want to be a snake eater, eh? And I was like, whoa. Because the mystique of the Green Berets in early 1967 was incredible. You know, on the cover of the Saturday Evening Post.
Yeah.
There was a song. I don't know if I'm up for that, but come over here and take these tests.
That song, it was like the first, that was top of the charts, right? Which was because it was such a anti-Vietnam War era. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an anti-Vietnam War era, but the song still made it to the top of the charts.
So there was a set of 5 tests that you had to take, and there was a test to see whether you could learn Morse code, which I foolishly maxed. Found out that was a bad mistake later. There was a test to see your strategic thinking, and an IQ test, and a test to see whether you could learn a foreign language. Anyway, it was 5 different tests. So I sat down, I took all the tests, and then I went and met my friend, and I went back to work in my motor pool and forgot all about it.
Mm.
So,
what foreign language did you take? What foreign language did you take?
Polish eventually. Human. Yeah. But the a couple of months go by, and I get called up to see my first sergeant, which usually means that you're in trouble, you know. So I'm walking up to the orderly room thinking, what did I do? I must have done something, but I don't know what it is. But when I get there, there's Sergeant Davis in there with my thing, and he says this to me. And is it true that he said it? I don't think it's actually true. I think he was a liar. But he said, Miller, you got the highest score on the Special Forces battery of tests ever. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. I said, we want you to come and join, but there's a problem. Your eyesight, it's not good enough.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, bummer. Because I really inside had not made any kind of decision that that's what I wanted to do, you know. He said, but your test scores are so good, I think I can get you a waiver. So sign these papers. So I signed some more papers, and off he trundles, and off I go back to my motor pool, and another like 4 months goes by. And I get called to see the colonel. Well, I just made Spec 4, and well, I was aware that there was a colonel. I had no idea who he was or where he was or why the hell he would ever want to talk to me. So I go up to the colonel's office and salute, and he's reading something on his desk. And he looks up to me and says, I got a real problem with you, Miller. And I was like, oh my God. Well, what the hell did I do?
What did you do?
And he goes, you know, you're on levy to go to Vietnam, right? I said, no, sir, I did not know that. He goes, well, you are. I said, oh, okay. So my problem is whether to take you off the levy or not. So what do you think? And I had no idea what he was talking about. I'm like, what do I think? I didn't know you got a choice. I thought they just told you to go and you went, you know. And
those other guys lied to me.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
Sometimes 3 times.
And I'm like, I don't quite understand. So he said, well, I also have some orders here assigning you to jump school at Fort Benning, Georgia, and then follow on to Special Forces training at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So what is it that you want to do? So I'm like thinking to myself, okay, I hate my job here. And if I go to Vietnam, it'll be the same exact stupid job, only with incoming mortar fire. Or I can try this thing and see what the hell happens.
Yeah.
And, oh, sure, Green Beret. Ever since I was a little kid, that's all I wanted. And you think, oh, damn, Miller, I love your attitude. And off I went. So I get to jump school, and they say, well, you can't go through training. It's like, why not? He said, because your eyesight's not good enough. I said, well, I have a waiver. He said, no, you have a waiver to go to Special Forces. You have a waiver to come to jump school. So I said to the captain, sir, the vision requirements for Special Forces are more stringent than the vision requirements to go to jump school. So one would think that the waiver for Special Forces covered jump school too. And he's like, yeah, one would think that, wouldn't one? Have to take your ass over to the hospital and get a waiver for jump school.
Oh, no.
So I had an extra week waiting to go to jump school, which I did, and I graduated, and I went to Special Forces Training Group. They made me a combo man because I got 100% on the code test. Went through the combo part of Special Forces training, all that, and got signed to the 6th group, which was basically the Vietnam waiting room. Everyone there was either right back or on their way. So I'm schlepping around there waiting to see what's going to happen. And one day the sergeant major comes to me and goes, Miller, we think you're pretty bright. I don't know who we was, but that's what he said.
How they didn't take a boat.
He said, there's a very important person over at Moon Hall, which was a big bachelor officers' quarters building on Fort Bragg. He's looking for a Special Forces NCO. By then I was a sergeant. And every group is sending a candidate. There's 3 groups on Bragg at the time, the 3rd, 6th, and 7th. And you're going to go as our candidate, and you're going to get picked because it would look really good for the 6th group if you got picked. I said, okay, I'll do my best, Sergeant Major. So I put on my dress uniform and went over to Moon Hall and in a waiting room with, there was a staff sergeant from the 7th group and another buck sergeant from the 3rd and me. They called that a 7th group guy in first. He was in the other office for about a half an hour. He comes out. They called me second. I go in there, and here's this bird colonel who became a big influence on my life. Former OSS Jedburgh team leader.
Wow. What was his name?
And
what was his name?
his name was William Peach.
Okay.
Peitch. He's passed away, unfortunately. But you can still read about him. He says to me, Sergeant Miller, could I interest you in a temporary duty assignment to military intelligence? And I was like, oh, sir, do I have a story for you? So I told him what I had just told you. I told him the story of how I got there, and he wound up selecting me for the job.
Wow.
Which was a forensic examination of the intelligence failures that led up to the Tet Offensive that he was conducting on behalf of the G2 of the Army, the Assistant Chief of Staff for Intelligence, to find out exactly why there was the ability existed to surprise us the way it did. So I got to hang around with him for a while, and sort of that was my first real thing into the intelligence business.